Hello and welcome everybody to our first regular season GSA Super Mario Odyssey Season 2 match. 80% League, TYRN versus Equan, match number 1. Welcome back, Equan here with the face reveal. PogChamp in the chat if you ask me. And I'm joined by Dangerous. What's up, Dangerous?
Hello, hello. How's it going, Limcube?
It's going pretty well. Ooh, this overlay is looking pretty clean.
Pretty spicy, if I do say so myself.
I've got a couple upgrades, but we do obviously have some returning and some new runners to the league. Former TYRN here, Equan, still in the league. We have once again some returning challengers, some new challengers, and these guys are probably getting set up right now. I'm cracking up because of the facial reactions here. That's actually going to be such a cool upgrade to see these runners react on stream as they go through their respective matches.
Absolutely. It was one of the highlights for me watching the finals go down live, being there with the runners and able to see them kind of react as things were happening. Really cool stuff that this is implemented into Season 2. I'm excited for it.
Absolutely. And we do switch over here to the league table of the league Season 2 once again. Obviously, at the moment, it's blank. This is going to be our first match, but we can take a look briefly at our contestants here. We have a couple of new faces. We have Lucidity joining the fray. We have Wee new in the league. Mitch, who is many consider him to be the favorite or one of the favorites here. Obviously, current world record holder. Tylotech joining and TYRN. Those are the new challengers in Season 2. And it's going to be super interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah, I really can't wait to see, you know, lots of new runners who have kind of burst through the scene as of lately. So it'll be interesting to see if they are able to pull off some big victories here in Season 2.
Now, obviously, we did see the qualifiers for these leagues on this channel, so you guys probably didn't miss out on too many new strats. The game after Season 1 pretty much has just come down to even more crazy optimizations. People actually started implementing these crazy BTT, best theoretical time level movements, but other than that, there's nothing new major. But who knows, a season is long. Season 1 obviously had quite a few improvements over the course of the run. I think when Season 1 began, everybody kind of still started implementing stuff like Lake Clip. That's how long it's been. And we found the Seaside reroute and so on and so forth. Sub-hour wasn't even a thing when the first season started. So now it's been there for quite a while, and runners are even looking to maybe in the future break that 59-minute mark.
That is true. I suppose, you know, it has actually been such a long time that the last season of Super Mario Odyssey was actually done on 1.0. So that is kind of an interesting thing that we can kind of talk about here, is that 1.3 is now the optimal version of the game. If you were watching last season, you were seeing these guys go for tricks such as the first moon skip. You were seeing these guys go for the Sphinx clip and also the turnip clip in Luncheon. These things won't be happening anymore. The 1.3 version is actually optimal due to its overclocked load speeds. So it is the faster version. And yeah, not much has really been discovered aside from what these guys are kind of setting up right out of the gate here, Limcube.
Yeah, and this is something we have been... I think they were actually giving some dates for each other there, but this is something we hadn't seen in the, as you said, in the finals. This was kind of just figured out as they happened of the pace this year. But we are able to kind of manipulate seed growth in this game by setting our clock to our specific timing here in a way that it actually hits the summertime change just when we get to Sand Kingdom. That way we can actually plant the seed that's kind of in the middle of the city we passed through anyways in Sand Kingdom. Plant that, do some other moons in that downtime while the clock is basically hitting that summertime change, and then just perfectly as we get back to that seed, it will already be grown, giving us access to another super quick moon, allowing us to kind of change that sand route. But it was probably the one major change in terms of the route between Season 1 finals and now the start of Season 2.
That's right. And a little bit of a different dynamic here as we watch these races happen. And I think that sand is really kind of the first pivotal moment in the race. But of course, with nerves, anything is possible. And it looks like these guys are getting ready to start here.
Yeah, and actually Equan did just point out, and it was very clearly visible there, that he's actually playing this on physical. I guess he just doesn't currently have the digital version of 1.3, so we actually immediately saw that big loading difference right at the start. So even though 1.3 physical is it basically uses those faster loads we were talking about just by being patched to the optimal version, which actually uses like the switch power mode. Right off the bat, you will still lose time to the physical loads over the digital loads. They're just a little bit more optimal and will matter for all of the small loads as well, but not that much. It's probably close to like a 10 to 15 second difference here, nothing that you can't make up through better gameplay.
That's right. Something in the ballpark of about 10 to 15 seconds over the course of the whole run. Nothing that optimal movement and a couple of mistakes from the digital player could not equalize.
Now, for Econ, it's always a little bit of a mystery. This guy, just sometimes he appears out of the shadows and he starts playing amazingly again. TYRN obviously very actively and openly still grinding the game. He's still out there, still pushing for better times, and he's definitely considered one of the favorites. I was talking to Chaos Pringle earlier about who he predicts to do really well in the league, who's like his... the person he's most scared of, and TYRN definitely came up as a name there because he kind of walks the line between those crazy best theoretical time movements and consistency. Mitch considered by many as the one that goes for all of these threats, maybe not the same level of consistency that TYRN brings to the table though, so definitely someone to look out for.
Absolutely. You could say that TYRN is kind of the Stravos of the earlier portion of the Super Mario Odyssey's career, I suppose, where Stravos was kind of on the forefront of trying to find some of these more optimal movements and just kind of implementing them into the game. You know, whereas Mitch is more comparable to, say, Ekwon of the early Super Mario Odyssey game, where Ekwon was always the one who was kind of on the forefront of adding all the hardest things, even if it was at the cost of consistency.
Already saw a little bit of some time loss there. TYRN not getting the optimal spin throw capture on that chain jump. Econ going into his natural gamer position there, it looks like, as he gets ready to take on Cascade Kingdom, which obviously due to the change to 1.3 is drastically different. There's no first moon skip, something that active observers of this game are obviously totally familiar with, but there might be people that exclusively watch this game in the any percentage. Now, TYRN actually taking a 40 on this bridge, can't blame him. We were actually pretty spoiled doing FMS because doing that spin count, and especially doing that spin count in the right angle on that falling bridge, is actually harder than you may think.
Yep, and just like that, putting Ekwon in the lead. Also taking a bonk with TYRN on the way up to the dyno, missing that dive. I'm already loving the ability to see.
Exactly, I was about to point that out. Seeing the runners react to potential misheads or good things, like if they nail strategy, is going to be quite awesome. Especially once we actually get to the more tense matches. This is obviously the first match of the season. This seems like a very friendly environment. I know these guys are obviously friends in the community. That should go for most of the rounds. But once we get to the matches where it might matter for a placement towards the end of the season, when it actually gets tense, those camps are going to give us a very interesting insight.
Absolutely. When points really start to matter towards the end of the season, you know, the tensions could be really high. It'd be interesting to see how these guys react.
And Econ very, very fast here in Cascade Kingdom. I don't know when he actively started practicing again. As we are all Mario-loving people here, everybody got kind of distracted a little bit by the release of Mario Maker 2. And not everybody, but most people kind of took some time off, wanted to get their hands onto that game. I know Curbs has been doing amazingly well in that game himself. He was part of the Super Mario Maker 2 Invitational we had here, and he did amazingly well. And that kind of took away from some people's practice. TYRN stuck with this game, and he definitely is actively still grinding. Econ, though, wants to always be able to just seemingly come back out of nowhere and just come back to his crazy levels. And he was always considered one of the most talented players in the game.
That's right. Even boasting a world record for a short period of time there as well.
So TYRN actually going for the optimal strategy. A little bit of a difference that we just saw. You can decide if you want to pick up that chest moon or that moon on the cliff. Both moons being in the 1.3 route where you're forced to pick up the first moon. Both of these moons are optimal and are fast, but not optimal. That most optimal moon would be the one on the chest, but it requires you to get a very quick clip back in bounds through the wall. The good old chest clip is back. And if you do that perfectly, that moon will still be a little faster than the one on the cliff.
About half a second, but it is a very risky thing to do. That one on the high cliff, very, very safe, very consistent. So you'll probably see a lot of that in these races. Not willing to risk the half a second for probably 4 or 5 seconds lost if you miss it and try and back it up.
We see a little bit of the change here in the fast action guide. Something that I really can't tell you why this ended up changing, but for some reason they added this little loading wheel here with the 1.3 patch. Something that probably has to do with the actual mechanics of how the Switch works and how it loads things with their games. You can still get a fast action guide, but it looks a little bit different though. Now, Ikwan not getting the most optimal line towards that seed. We were talking about this earlier. Runners do have to plant the seed and then make their way up to this moon. Very fancy movement from TYRN there, jumping on that ledge, going to the moon seamlessly, and then getting the bird along the way. They will still obtain the moon from the rumble room, and then the seed should be ready to be harvested.
And that's right. And the whole point of timing our start in such a way is that the seed is actually going to be growing instantaneously while we're inside of this little sub area. So we don't have to wait for the flower to kind of grow. It'll just be ready for us as we leave here. As you can see, none of these runners having a problem with that.
TYRN trying to keep his roll momentum going. They're taking 3 quick bonks. At least you don't actually get the full bonk animation, as Mario is kind of in that little corridor right there, so not the worst time loss, but yeah, bonking his head a little bit. But also, that's actually also part of the 1.3 reroute. Due to those faster 1.3 loads, that employees only moon becomes just a little bit faster. Ikwan, they're not believing that he actually missed that spin point around 3 times, and TYRN already catching up on him there. This is a very common mistake still. It's such an underrated hard moon to get that first try every time.
It really is, and you know, you feel like you've got an intuitive sense about it, but now with this like super fast movement to try and like spin pound on it, you really do have to kind of achieve a bullseye there, and it can be kind of tough. Now, interesting differences here in the dram strategy. We've got Ekwan on the right side with the icicle dram still, going for the older way, which is actually the less optimal way because you're kind of setting the bullet bill up in a way that is a little bit farther away. TYRN doing the old school method of dram, setting up his bullet bill to come back. And you're going to see the difference here, I think. TYRN's probably going to have just a little bit of an advantage going into this, making up that little bit of time.
Yeah, very fancy. Hopefully making it all the way to that pillar. Both of them are going to be able to do that. And looks like we are pretty much synced up as both of them are spin pounding now towards the main section of the sanding again. No swings to be found here as it is impossible to clip through that swings wall, which will actually make coin routing quite a bit more interesting, even though crashing that bullet bill into that stone section is going to have to take another one to get that moon.
Gonna have to back it up. Basically just waiting for another bullet bill cycle, unfortunately wasting a little bit of time. But keeping pace with TYRN pretty good here throughout anyways.
Now we do get 50 coins here from that chest. That's something to keep in mind. But yeah, later on we will see these runners obtain some extra coins.
We need 100 coins by the time we reach the Wooded Kingdom. And it looks like these guys should both be alright. TYRN already well over.
Yeah, exactly. Even though Ikwan still lacks 2, he's going to be able to probably pick them up along the way in Lake. Maybe some in the zipper section could be available for him. I don't know like where all of the coins are. Sometimes, especially those coin scraps that chill in the kingdoms are something that you can forget. These runners are obviously probably attempting to skip fighting Rango, which is a nice resource for coins. But they should be fine. In Lake, there's some scraps lying around. Once again, the zipper section comes to mind.
Yes, certainly. In the zipper section, if you necessarily need to kind of backtrack and get those, then that's an option for you. Also,
there's like the ring around the water and the like the dome.
Yes, that's kind of where most runners will be picking up their last few scraps of coins, if entirely necessary. Rolling into the secret room, there's a nice little ring of coins there. And then, absolute worst case scenario, there's also some hiding in a bush in the Wooded Kingdom if you're a couple short.
Yep, definitely interesting to know your backups when it comes to that. But they are going to be picking up some... And I'm actually interested to see. I'm pretty sure TYRN is going to be going for the most optimal metro route. I don't know about Ikwan. I know he has been struggling a lot with the slots moon, which does cost you 10, also, by the way, 10 coins to get. So that's something they have to obtain, which is part of the optimal route for Metro Kingdom, and I'm interested to see if both of them will go for it. I'm pretty sure TYRN goes for it.
Yeah, bullet building making a debut in this league format, I suppose, now. We've always known that it is the most optimal way to get through Metro Kingdom, but with the load times, it actually is quite a substantial difference now. Somewhere in the ballpark of like 3 seconds.
Oh, there is this little RNG coin stick here that Ethan might be able to pick up and then not have to worry about coins anymore. But once again, we talked about that coin ring getting to that NPC that he should be able to pick up before he heads to Wooded Kingdom. But something to keep in mind. Now, TYRN is attempting lay clip, but he gets the clip quite quickly and is going to be able to hit the checkpoint. Very flawless execution, fast dives as well. The speed for these out of bounds movements always matter. This is something that was overlooked in Wooded Kingdom for the longest time, where people thought, I'm not saving much time with the nut clip here. I thought it saves 30 seconds, but so much of that time save just comes from flawlessly going through that out of bounds section.
Yeah, movement is extremely important, and you know, I've always kind of said that if you don't know where you're losing time, it's probably because you're just not moving fast enough.
Very neat strategy here by TYRN, diving into that moon and then capturing the cheap afterwards. Econ deciding to get the fish first. Looked a little bit more flawless here from TYRN, who is now actually making up some time over the course here of Lake. Econ obviously always very known for his very flawless and very clean early game, the first runner ever to leave Sand Kingdom in less than 10 minutes, which is something we won't really see anymore with the exclusion of first moon skip. But still pretty nice.
And TYRN making his way into this final little secret area, grabbing this last moon, and then going to be warping back to the Odyssey.
Nice. 3 coins acquired, so he is totally fine. 101 coins here. Just made sure to grab those, as he will need them, as he is going to buy a shop moon and Wooded as his 3rd moon.
And TYRN coming out of Lake Kingdom with a little bit of a lead here. Not much, only about 10 seconds. Equan, you know, like you said, don't really know where he's at in terms of practice or in terms of how sharp he's going to be going through this game, but looks like he's holding his own pretty well.
Yeah, for sure. And once again, I think TYRN is coming into this match as a favorite here, our Italian runner. This is also, by the way, pretty neat to see these guys' nationalities as Equan is dabbing as he leaves Lake Kingdom. Interesting strategy. But, I mean, some of these nationalities are known, obviously. If you go to Speedrun.com, you can see where these guys are from. But it's always interesting to see what region is currently doing well. Are the Europeans gonna edge out the North Americans? NA versus EU rivalry? I've seen that before in esports, but that could be interesting.
Absolutely. No Japanese runners in this Super Mario Odyssey League, unfortunately, this time. But yeah, it's a pretty even split, I would say. There's definitely a lot of Canadians, I would say, as far as North America is concerned in this league and in Super Mario Odyssey speedrunning in general. But also quite a few Europeans making their way up to the top. The top 2 spots held by European runners at the moment, actually.
Now, tree route still a thing. It's actually worth to point out that for the longest time we thought tree route might be a little bit more unoptimal because we didn't really figure out. For some reason, it seemed like this version made this uproot spawn a little later. There's like a tiny difference, but runners figured out a way to use camera manipulation to spawn the uproot in early, making this still the most viable wooded route. Nut clip also still a thing, one of the clips that has not been patched out, obviously, so this is still a major chance to lose time. At the point these runners are at, you are 100% basically expecting to get nut clip, so missing it is going to be a time loss. It's not like getting it is a time save anymore. You are 100% expecting for this clip to work. We are getting to the point where this is a 1-year-old strategy. It's already actually passed.
It's essentially a necessity if you want to continue to be fast in this game. Again, going for the backup on 1.3, you can basically just hope and pray that you get the rock clip. Equan actually taking a dive, trying to go for that really fancy triple jump strategy off the ramp, but missing the dive. He's going to go for it again. and he's going to get it this time.
Yeah, cool backup here. I think he tried to initially roll on that rail instead of dropping down. He did fall down this time, went for a little bit of a roll cancel jump, like roll cancel to against the rail, which granted him a cap return jump. Very quick movement to make it to nut, but obviously is going to be taking a big time this here. TYRN did also bonk as he was making his way towards that fence nut, but overall TYRN coming out on top.
And these guys both going for the tree route, so we will see them just skip right by this piranha plant. I suppose that's another thing that we didn't really see too much of in the league of last season. A couple runners were going for it. But also now, back up there from Econ as well on the right stream. He did miss that spin pound strat, and then he basically spin pound in place, still getting that roll cancel in the right direction to kind of bridge that gap over to the other side. So both of them looking pretty in form overall. Obviously a little bit of a bigger mistake coming out of Econ in Wooded Kingdom so far. Looks quite low here, but is going to make that dive as he makes his way towards the tower and then inside the tower. And both of these guys with the very flashy roll cancel triple jump to get this crumbling tower moon. You know, the typical strategy before was to just do a long jump to kind of time yourself for the triple jump, but both of these guys nailing that roll cancel strategy just fine.
Yeah, Econ also roll cancelling off that platform as he makes his way back towards the tower, getting a cap bounce on that roll cancel cap. That's the strategy that we used to do for the longest time after Snowdram, but it has uses in other places as well. Actually used lots in the... Oh, TYRN going for the dive forward strat as well. These guys have definitely upgraded some of these minor things, as we pointed out, as he makes his way towards the nut around the corner. Very clean.
And into this final pipeway room for TYRN. All based on a cycle, so it doesn't really matter how fast necessarily you get through this room as long as you do beat out that final cycle. It's always fun to see that what kinds of different strategies people have to get through here.
Yeah, for sure. This is one of the most practiced room for beginners. This room has left the any percent route for like I want to say like a month. Just when nut clip was found, we thought it was the best idea to just do the nut clip and then just do Spewered and don't mess with this room anymore. Just leave it down there. But this room is just so fast. If you do it optimally, it did find its way back. We were able to route out Spewered shortly afterwards, and this room found the way back into the route.
That's right. And instead of leaving the room and kind of making the climb back up to the rest of the Wooded Kingdom like we did before, this is just a warp right at the end of the kingdom and back to the Odyssey.
Now Cloud Kingdom has not changed much. Still pretty much the same as it always been. You can save some time with your early movement depending on how flashy you want to go and how fast you want to go. And then it's all about getting the heads fast. That's obviously the major part. And then also going for these Bowser manipulations, making him jump less spaces, saving all the time that you can get in this almost exclusive auto-scrolly kingdom.
Yeah, some things can go wrong if you get your spacing wrong for these Bowser hits. Sometimes he'll just take his hat back and lose you probably about 10 seconds for that, but we'll just see how it goes here.
Manipulation acquired there from TYRN. I do want to look though what Econ opts for as a movement technique here. Gets a spin throw out of a long jump, then a double jump on the cloud platform. Pretty clean, pretty slick, and makes his way towards the fight.
Beginning the fight just as TYRN is approaching his third phase. Coming in with that backflip from the side, getting the cap just fine. Finishing up here. So TYRN looks to have probably about a 30-second lead.
Yeah, Econ's still one phase to go through, but heading into Lost, which is still arguably one of the scarier kingdoms in the run, you do want to... Oh, actually, I did forget to point out one thing in Cloud Kingdom, which both of these runners decided not to go for. But let me see here if Econ is able to finish off the fight. I did talk about the fact earlier that we are actually going to be attempting to get a coin hint art throughout this route. So, whoa, TYRN having a little bit of an issue here with the meme tree, the good old meme tree, obviously still part of the run. Going for a backup there, playing it safe, not even trying to close that gap. But you can actually basically get a time loss free hint art in Cloud. There's one at a very, very precise position with almost no visual cue. If you play perfectly, you can grab that hint art without any time loss, but these runners most likely are going to be opting to go for the one in Metro Kingdom instead.
Yeah, taking a second and a half to get a hint art in Metro that is essentially free. It just hides right underneath one of the moons we already get. But it does require a ground pound into the pool and about a second and a half of time loss, whereas Cloud is all cycle-based, so if you do manage to get that hint art and finish off the fight just in time, you won't lose any time. But it's very risky, and you could wind up losing that second phase of the fight altogether. So,
very cool little single jump there from TYRN coming out on that single island in the poisoned water, poison goo, whatever. Probably just straight up poison, actually. As he is making his way, actually going for the reverse repeated strat as well, something that was unthinkable as we start out. He did give us a little nod of approval there, kind of asserting dominance. I did see a Mitch post in one of the chats earlier, not doing reverse trapetal in 2019, Gigolo. So I'm assuming the strat is pretty standard right now. Equan not opting for it though.
Yeah, honestly, this is kind of the trick that's on the forefront of the top runners at the moment, is this reverse trapetal movement. As far as I can tell, only TYRN and Mitch are the ones going for this very, very complicated trick, kind of popularized by Goryuya in his personal attempts.
Popularized, yes, but I do think this is an original Stravo strat, actually. I think that's the first one I've ever seen him, the first one that I ever saw doing that strat, like a long time ago, like way longer ago that you could think of. That was already like done early 2018, but nobody ever really thought this is a smart idea to route in because it seems so nasty to get back up and make that trapetal hit that block. But yeah, it's a thing now on the highest level of play.
Finally implementing some of these harder things, you know. If you had asked us 6 months ago if things like reverse trapetal and the bullet building were making their way into the route anytime soon, all the top runners would kind of just laugh and say no, but 1.3 has kind of changed a lot of the landscape, I think.
Yeah, and bullet building, actually another example where those quicker loading times made that route even a little bit more optimal. Bullet building is the core of that little route change. It's very tricky to do fast sub-room. But since it's a sub-room, the loads to get that sub-room sped up, making that route actually even more optimal than it was before. And then additionally, the third moon that we used to get in that route was a choice between two extremely annoying moons to get fast. One choice was the Captain Toad moon. Another choice was going all the way over to the scrap part without doing any of the musicians with like a crazy pole flick strat, and then capture warping back, a ridiculous strat, but with those fast loads, we're actually able to make slots the third moon in the route. There's a very fancy strat to get slots very quick, and the quick loads, and since it's already basically close to where we are already getting moons, just happens to be a very quick moon.
Yeah, it worked out pretty good for all of us as runners to be able to route that in with the new fast loads, so I'm definitely going to see TYRN go for that in his run, and maybe Equan will follow suit.
Equan also going for the elevator skip here, a strat that we started to see very, very few amounts of. What was that? For Equan, they're very interesting in real-life movement, as he gets that moon from the Lost and Found chest.
And TYRN taking the first steps into this Mecha Wiggler fight, rather. Getting that first phase done nice and handily. Very, very limited amounts of RNG in this game, but this is one of them coming up for TYRN here. This second phase of the Wiggler. Equan having a little bit more trouble with the first phase than TYRN did.
Yeah, this is where all of that aiming practice pays off, hopefully. As the Wiggler will reveal its pattern. Briefly stopped there for TYRN as he was shooting down those fireballs. Oh, almost got a very nice shot there, maybe taking down two parts of the Wiggler at the same time. Wasn't able to quite get that, so not the very optimal pattern or a reaction to the pattern here, but not the worst as well.
Yeah, still going to be pretty happy with that finish and holding on to a pretty commanding lead over Equan. They are still within, you know, the same chunk of the game, this Wiggler fight. Equan's pattern did look to be just a little bit better, so maybe making a little bit of time.
overall, they will be happy, though, obviously completing the Wiggler without any 3-cycle mishits. And they will get more rare and more rare as these runners get just so much more experience in the game. The strats that you will see, I mean, there's still major strats that will occasionally still be missed. Something like Lake Clip, Snowdram are things that you will still see runners miss, even those top-level guys. But at this point, we are more looking at the very small things. Getting a bonk here and there, not... Okay, obviously Equan falling down there and wooded, but other than that, it has really been those smaller things that kind of determined how this run is going. Very quick scooter clip here from TYRN.
Getting it without the bonk. TYRN very famously a couple of weeks ago was saying, I can get the PBs without needing the drive-by scooter clip, but it looks like he's kind of picked it up for himself anyways and is making it work, so kudos to him for that.
Now there will be a little bit of a choice to be made here, depending on coin hint arts. TYRN is going to be going for the girder first here, and this is where we will see the reveal of his plans for his metro route. Is going to be opting for the slots here, so yes, he will indeed go for the bullet building route.
And setting himself up right on the edge of the corner of this carpet here, and then doing a spin throw to get all of the moons as soon as they appear here. Luckily, there is no RNG in the slots. All you have to do is basically just time your spin throw right when they start to appear, and you will get exactly what you need.
Looks like Equan himself will also a very nice synced room enter. Here we saw those loads basically lasted the exact amount of time. But I think that was actually kind of placebo because Equan did enter the smaller of the two subrooms. He is on physical here. Oh, very unfortunate. And I did point that out earlier. He was saying that this is actually one of his problems. That's not, like, literally he says this is the hard part for him during this route. Not actually doing the bullet building subroom, which TYRN just did optimally. He did crash his bullet build at the very end, which is kind of out of our control. But Equan not getting those slots on his first attempt.
Funny enough, a lot of runners have said much the same thing. Finding like a visual cue or something to set up that perfect spin throw to make it work, or your motion control input turning into just a regular throw or maybe even an up throw and ruining the whole thing. Very common thing to happen in that slots room, and unfortunately Equan did have to suffer that and reset the room. Which is...
But let's see how this bullet building room is going for him. The most important part here is getting that up throw insta capture on that bill. He is able to get that. Let's see if he may be able to skip that bullet bill. Explosion wasn't able to get that. Once again, it can be optimal to go for 2 shakes there. For an extra shake there, and the bullet bill does stay alive, then you can just uncapture to grab that moon. But that wall is weird, dude. Sometimes the bullet bill just explodes.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta come from like a particular angle, but even then it doesn't necessarily work exactly the way you want it to.
Still not a major difference here in terms of moon count. Obviously, TYRN is extending his lead here through Metro, but we are just basically right now around at the 50% mark of this run, and we still have lots of scary kingdoms to go through.
Yep.
But we do see I do see here from TYRN the expected results. He's going for all of these tiny little optimizations and he's nailing them without much difficulty. The consistency shows.
And despite some of the smaller mistakes that TYRN is making, still coming out with a 29:40 Metro exit, which is still... arguably, you could probably still sub-hour with a time like this. So TYRN's still looking very, very sharp.
Yeah, overall, if you think back, there hasn't been too many mistakes. A little bit of a sloppy start to Cascade. That was the biggest mistake that stood out. And then one particular bonk in Wooded that may have lost him around 5 seconds. But other than that, we are looking at a pretty clean run.
And into Snow Kingdom now. Both of these guys did get the hint art, so there's no need to go to Seaside first or anything like that to get the coins.
True. You are just fine keeping your meshing going. Seaside first is something we won't really see anymore for every runner that goes for this bullet building route, which I'm not sure if anybody does in the league. We will find that out as we go. Some people may have edited, some people may decide not to go for it because of race safety. but we'll figure that out as we go. But I'm interested here in chat's opinion, as we just talked about that briefly. Guys, how many sub-hours will we see in Season 2 of the GSA Super Mario Odyssey League? I'm actually curious, and I'm gonna say we are gonna see, throughout the season, we are gonna see 12 sub-hour runs.
12, hey?
Yeah.
Well, that is, I think that's a little bit optimistic, you know? I've been watching some of these runners race. I've participated in some of them myself. And sub-hour is still a really hard thing to get, you know? I think that a lot of the runners that are capable of getting it might just fall under the pressure of the nerves, especially as the season goes on. So I'm gonna cut that in half. I'm gonna say 6.
6. Okay, my quote-unquote problem is just that we do have people like Chaos and TYRN here who can look for at least semi-consistent results towards that time, so it is going to be quite interesting. But we'll obviously go back to that question as we move towards the end. But we have a long season ahead of us, and guys, make sure if this is your first time over here at the Speedrun channel to follow, as we do not only have Super Mario Odyssey leagues going on, but we have all of the leagues starting this week. Super Mario 64, Celeste, Super Mario Maker. All of that action is going to be happening, so you do not want to miss this one.
Kitten coming in with the co-commentary here.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she followed for sure.
She's definitely following the channel. She loves Super Mario Odyssey. She's also a big fan of the Celeste League, which we will be catching on, I believe, Thursday every single week. Now, cool thing about the format this time, LimCube, for Super Mario, or not just for Super Mario Odyssey, but for GSA in general. So you can tell here that all of the Super Mario Odyssey races are actually happening here on the same day.
Exactly. Yeah, Monday basically stands for Mega Gamer Day. That's why Odyssey is taking place on Mondays. It's all of the Mega Gamers, basically, makes sense, right? And yeah, you can come back on every Monday to catch the action live.
And each game, each league has its own day of the week. So Odyssey Mondays definitely going to be a thing. If you want to catch some Super Mario 64 action, then you will be coming in later in on the week. I believe that is what, Thursday and Fridays.
Friday, yep.
Yeah.
We got Mario Maker on the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. Celeste action also taking place on Thursdays. So lots of action.
Your entire week filled, ready to go with speedrunning competition. It should be pretty exciting. I like this format a lot.
Yeah, and obviously this is not as we used to have like singular races, but we are actually going to be having all of this week's Mario Odyssey League action coming up literally right now. You're watching it. Like, all of the races are going to be taking place right now. Jesus Christ. I'm not sure if that was intentional, but the how low Equan went there may have been like the camera angle, but he just hit that very edge of the corner with his dive. But TYRN now going for Snowdram here. Hopefully being able to get that one. Delaying his input just fine. Looks like cake.
Easy money for TYRN. Getting that Snowdram, and it's funny, even at the beginning of the last season, Snowdram was still kind of this thing that I think everybody in the league was doing, but it was still very much a scary thing. Some runners, you know, still losing quite a few runs to it, but TYRN making it look easy.
Equan is also coming up on that trick, kind of showing us how close this race still is, even though TYRN may be looking at around a minute lead at this point, or at least close to it. This is nothing that is safe until the very end here. We've seen it time and time again. Equan actually dropping quite low on that first wall, but is just going to be hitting that edge. His look is basically suggesting... Wait, is this camera actually working?
Wow, he actually got it setup-less on the second try there.
He did, and he just froze. Like, that just... Yeah. I was about to say, like, he got the trigger and he's just like, he's just stunned. Stunned in awe, freezing the camera with the setup with Snowdram on the second time. Did go quite low. I was pretty scared, but he just barely made it.
Yeah, lucky for him. Gonna be making this work out just fine. Losing a bit more time to TYRN. TYRN had a very clean Snow Kingdom, but still making their way through the stage. And Seaside.
Coming up next, the one kingdom that has seen other than loads related, the most recent discovery related route change, which at this point is almost not half a year ago, but like 4 months ago, when we saw the big change here happening, the discovery of the fish clip, which was kind of like the last major discovery before the sub-hour barrier was broken.
That's right. Some people kind of credit it for having pushed it over the edge. Alongside some like late crate ideas in Sand Kingdom, I suppose that probably helped as well. Those strategies not really that useful anymore, considering the Sphinx clip is not a part of the route, but very swaggy stuff, kind of all coming together towards the end of the sub-hour push. And now we have 7 people who have sub-hour.
Crazy to think that this was the impossible now being done so easily, but that's obviously how speed games change, guys. Never make early predictions. You can only make a fool out of yourself. It's just like saying 58 is impossible. Don't do that. We all know it's not. And don't even say 57 is impossible in this game. You just don't do that. Like, you will be proven wrong eventually.
You really
can
never
only lose
know
with these statements, literally. Like, technically, you can literally only lose because technically, there's never going to be an end to the speed game. Even if it maybe loses popularity, it's always going to be a thing. So making those statements, you can literally only lose.
That's right. There will always be somebody who's willing to push it that far. And yeah, look at games like Super Mario Sunshine. Even though there was a world record that stood there for 2 years, you find somebody who's dedicated enough, and eventually that can come down as well. So it's just a matter of time. It really is.
Yeah, for sure. I'm still having that slither of hope. I may need to return to active routing and strategy when I have some energy for this again, because I feel like it's time to look at stuff again. But just in general, I'm still hoping for this one day we all wake up and there's been this massive major discovery, thinking like early Metro Kingdom, like actual branchen or that kind of stuff. That would definitely be super interesting. And it is. I'm not going to make any predictions. These guys have all been grinding. They will grind however the speed game develops, and who knows what's actually possible.
It is too hard to tell. I actually remember very vividly the day that the wooded nut clip, for example, was found, and just like how much it just kind of shattered everybody's expectations and what everybody was doing to try and make it work. It was like Christmas Day. It was like an unboxing.
Yeah, I'm actually thinking about. I was commentating with Bismuth for the Mario Maker Invitational, and he has this amazing video, by the way, about the potential of like a 450 4 in SMB1, and like kind of analyzing how the TAS differentiates from the original from the actual run. And literally just yesterday I've seen like a new tweet of like a pretty big discovery that allows runners to despawn a piranha plant in like 8-2 and kind of breaks the game open again. Like, these discoveries are still being made even in like a 30-year-old game.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Doesn't matter how long it's been, and that game is getting optimized to the frame essentially at the RTA level. But,
yeah, but literally, like they have like a spreadsheet for all of the frames. Like, they know all of the frames. Oh, I lost time beyond frame 2767.
And they'll know exactly what they've missed too, and it can predict their Bowser cycles and everything. It's very, very neat stuff. That game has gone a very long way, and I can expect that Super Mario Odyssey will do the same.
For sure. Now, Luncheon also saw, as Ivan is going for the fancy spin throw strategy to get rid of the head of Speed, Luncheon also saw a forced change of routing as turnip clip possible in 1.3. Well, it is actually possible to clip into the cage, but not fast enough. You can clip into the cage using one of the Podoboos, but there's no Podoboo that we can get over there. It's at least impossible using the old strategy we used to do with the pan bro and the turnip. So you can clip into the cage, but not using a turnip. So we are forced to actually get that moon legit way, aka getting rid of the cheese blocks. What is your opinion about the cheese blocks, Dangers?
I hate them. They're the worst. Everybody hates the cheese. To be fair, now that people
cheese, by the way, I love your cheese. Cheese is a legend. We're talking about the cheese blocks in game.
Disclaimer: cheese is actually pretty cool, but like, as far as these cheese blocks are concerned, it's actually kind of nice that we have these top runners focusing on the cheese blocks and figuring out a way to make them less annoying, because when we had the turnip clip, we just kind of assumed that the cheese was RNG, it sucks. But we're at a point now where the runners are actually discovering a better way to do them, and, you know, getting up nice and close and being a little bit patient with your throws can make this a little bit less of an ordeal. So what used to be really, really frustrating is only slightly frustrating now.
Getting 2 rolls on that Salt Island is going to be able to catch that cycle easily for the cameraman this way to get that potable in that cycle. You can use camera manipulation to help yourself out there, but optimally you don't even need that and can make that early cycle regardless, causing the fastest completion. Now Fork's room is always going to stay, and that's not going to change depending on how good runners go, because sometimes this room's out of control as motion controls still act up on you. Occasionally, always going to be a scary room.
Certainly, but they're just too fast to pass up. You just have to make it through this room. It only takes about 8 seconds to do the whole thing, and then you're at the top and 2 moons are just sitting there waiting for you. So they will definitely be a part of the route to stay.
We're getting the gold fire speed there. I think it's like a Cooper free running term where you essentially run down that slope, catching that potable extremely early as it's still very low in the lava. Very nice.
And TYRN, the first to approach these cheese blocks we were talking about earlier, so running up to them, kind of spamming just to get them out of the way, but then getting up nice and close and just throwing that final one to kind of finish the job off there.
A little bit of a ledge grab there on one of the blocks for TYRN, but other than that, that did look pretty clean. Able to uncover the block quick enough, but Equan is still right behind him. Very cool roll cancel there to the right, captures the pole quickly, and is hopefully looking to get that cheese block just as quick. Or that lever hidden in the cheese just as quick.
Slightly different strategies approaching that wall to get up to the jagged peak. Is that what it's called? Or is it the...
jutting crag or something.
Jutting crag, yeah, that's right. But TYRN taking it from the side, and then Equan going for that kind of Shireen bounce against the wall instead.
TYRN almost just straight up spin point into that lava down there. The problem is at that spot there's actually no backup. If you fall on your way back to the meat, you're fine. There's like backup straights where you can run up the slope, but if you miss that spin point behind the mountain, you can't get back up. So that was actually a pretty close call.
But he's got to be happy with this luncheon finish. Holding out a pretty good lead over Equan so far.
This strategy, and I did actually previously talk about this little roll cancel, has been around for so long as well. And actually, I did see that the first time when I saw Equan practice that game. I was like, what? You can do things like that? That was when he just basically emerged as a threat to deal with. It was during like the 105, 104 area. So pretty long time ago when those were like the best times. But yeah, super standard strat at this point.
And Equan finishing up Luncheon Kingdom 2 on his way into Ruined. And you know, we all love Ruined. You know, it's been a while in Cube.
I was about to say, dude, I completely forgot that even existed. Honestly, no, we should skip out on it. I want to rebrand the segment. We need to hit the lab. We used to have the Ruined Trash Talk segment in season 1, but just as the layout, we need to rebrand the segment, guys. So look out in the future. There's going to be a new segment here for the Linkube Dangerous commentary, completely rebranded. So yeah, get hyped.
Get hyped. Stay tuned. Tune in every Monday. Catch those GSA Super Mario Odyssey races, and we'll be here.
Other than that, there hasn't been really any news to run. You know, there's a coin hint out here, which is pretty useless in this run. We did have a Dark Side tournament on this channel where this hint art came in quite clutch. Very quick to get, very easy to get time loss with. But at this point, these runners don't need coins anymore. There's no shop moves to get, no coins to pay. TYRN missing that optimal spin point on top of the Dragon's Head, but I want to say but to be honest, this is one of the few time losses that you can take here in Ruin, so you will still feel a little bit disappointed when that happens.
All about pulling these pegs as fast as you possibly can, basically. Otherwise, an auto-scroller, nothing really exciting happening here. Now, in the past, we have seen Ekwon go for some kind of flashy strats to wait for this, this dragon to shoot his electric wheels at you. Hopefully, taking it nice and safe this time. Death in a Ruined Kingdom is definitely not something you want to see.
Yeah, we did see some of them in the last league. They were mostly caused by being not careful at all, specifically, and actually not even to the dragon. We've seen Ekwon die in this kingdom without dying to the dragon, kind of doing what I think he kind of hints at doing right now. He's kind of like jumping out of the arena and then back in. And that did cause him actually 2 deaths in one of the runs, but not opting to mess around this time. And it's smart, because even though TYRN just grabbed that moon here and is a full phase ahead of Ekwon, this race is not yet over. We've seen it time and time again.
That is right. We still have 2 kingdoms to go through. Bowser's Kingdom can be especially nerve-wracking, as it's right at the end. So, this is far from over. And even if Ekwon doesn't pull out the win, this league is formatted in a way that points are what make the difference here. So the winner will come away with 60 points automatically, but there are 90 points up for grabs. Those other 30 will basically be split between the winner and the loser, depending on how much the winner wins by.
Yep, and you guys will actually now, with the graphics update to the league, always have an overview of that whenever the intermission screen comes up. You may want to use full screen for that one, as we want to give you guys an overview over all of the leagues. But if you are able to watch in full screen, you should be able to read all of the league standings, always live in any intermission. So you'll get an instant update on the points and the standings as the leagues progress.
That is right. TYRN, the first to go into Bowser's Kingdom here. Now, broken into chunks, this kingdom. So the first one, taking a bonk there, trying to get up optimally there. That's not such a big deal, though. Backing it up all right, didn't fall or anything like that. This first chunk is kind of... it ends with this ogre here, going for a spin pound, and quickly on top of his head like that. I actually really enjoy running Bowser's Kingdom because it kind of brings all of your platforming knowledge and experience into this game. Every element kind of has some sort of appearance here in Bowser's Kingdom in one way or another.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure Ekwon still stick to his plans and opt for a different moon choice here in Bowser's Kingdom. Specifically the first one that he's going to be picking up. Instead of the ogre, he's probably going to get the moon behind the big wall using a capture warp with this bird. Something that he always preferred, a moon that is pretty much optimally just as fast as the one behind the boxes, but is going to be missing it, so is not happy. Well, he actually looks happy, he's just laughing, but probably a little bit surprised, since this is an uncommon mistake from him. He's so used to that moon.
And a little bit of spaghetti in the movement on the way to the wire as well, but yeah, Ekwon very characteristically going for that moon behind the wall instead. So looks like he's going to be putting himself back a little bit further, but he will be able to skip a moon that TYRN has to grab later on.
Yeah, did bonk there against the ogre, but the most important part is obviously that you hit the ogre before he raises his stamp back up above his head. This is where it gets scary, as you may miss a full cycle there. But overall, synced up story moons here, and once again TYRN is going to get that extra moon. We are looking at around a time difference here that you can lose even in mech if things start going pretty badly. But TYRN here showing off full consistency on that Bowser Dram strategy. A capture warp to get back to the wire, and then not getting that instant dive. These are like the 2 small strats that actually matter quite a lot at this point in this section as you go towards the boss fights here, which obviously, as he is a top tier gamer, is going to be opting for Harriet first. That's still the same, basically. All of the top tier gamers go for Harriet first, and the frauds basically go for Topper.
Yes, that is correct. We might see a couple of fraudulent gamers in the league, but, you know, definitely going Harriet first. On the left, it just makes sense. Left to right. That's how you're raced, you know?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it mostly comes from having watched the grassroots of the community, right? Like the first OG gamers of this speedrun have just taught us Harriet first is the way, and you do not want to disrespect the legends, right? And that's what TYRN is showing off here.
Ekwan set up for the Bowser Dram looks good himself as well. Gonna be getting that capture warp. See if his dive looks all right for this. Oh yeah, yep, he's got the line. It's very weird. Very weird, that strategy. You almost have to point your control stick down and to the right in order to make it work.
5 o'clock. What?
Oh. Well,
I mean, I'm not. Yeah, that's really embarrassing. I'm not even. This is not even meant by him. This is not even intentional. He just does that basically to show me off right here. But I mean, at some point he had to do it, basically exposing himself as a fraudulent runner here. What can you do?
Just kind of lying down and accepting defeat by doing topper first here. It's a real shame. Feels a bad man.
Yeah, but let's move our eyes back over to the superior gamer here as he's rolling up towards that great moon. This is his choice of the extra moon. Once again, Ekwan picked up that bird moon earlier, that the wall behind the big wall moon, but TYRN is making that box moon look easy, gets access into that very quickly. The most common reason that runners do not go for this moon is not actually getting it, but this movement right here, as since the game's kind of stuck in that pipe animation, the camera is still lagging behind, but he is making that jump look easy, even blind.
Yeah, once you get a feel for that jump, it does become kind of straightforward, but when you're learning it, it can be a real pain. You can definitely take a bonk on the platform on your way up there, lose significant amounts of time. But TYRN making it look easy, and he's the first to approach this Robo Brutal fight now.
Right, and this is still gonna matter, even though Ekwan now is quite a bit behind. Mech is one of the sections towards the late game where you can lose lots of time getting a bonk here, but that shouldn't be an issue. I think he was... Oh, I was about to say that shouldn't be an issue, but he does fall. This is one of the better phases to fall down. He was trying to go for that topper acquired strategy, but this is the first major time loss coming out of Mech here. This is not the worst one, since you are able to back this up quite quickly. He is missing that up throw though, so he has to wait one more phase on that Mech. The next phase is the really tricky one to get back up, because the Mech is running around the arena. Let's see if TYRN is able to get that back up now.
And it's amazing just how much time that actually did cost him. You can see that Ekwan on the right side here is actually just making his way into the arena net. So we are only about 2 hits of the Robo Brutal away from each other at this point.
Yeah, and you will see how quick those first 2 hits actually are if you get them correctly. Like, that seemed like a long time here, and TYRN is still having a good lead, but if Ekwan is able to get back up here, which he currently is not able to actually do, as he falls down on the leg, you can get these hits quite quickly. Let's see if that second attempt is proving to be any better. Gets up, hits Rango, and hopefully able to snipe Topper here.
Also
okay,
going for Topper acquired. Wow, very nice setup there.
Is gonna get that on his part, and it's gonna save time over TYRN here, even with that missed start. That was still a little faster, but not what he wanted and not what he needed. Moon Kingdom is hard to lose lots of time to, other than the escape section. Maybe a mistake in the Bowser section. We did see some. We've seen it all, honestly. We've seen mistakes on Moonskip where runners actually straight up died, which is one of the least forgiving checkpoints in the game. Both of them with amazing target acquired here at the end, but if you die as you make your way to Cathedral, there's no flag, checkpoint flag set that entire way, so you spawn back at the Odyssey, which is like a 1-minute travel time almost all the way to the Cathedral.
Yep, it's kind of the thing about Moon Kingdom, is that it's not very easy to lose the big amounts of time, but when you do, it's very costly. Falling down in the Moon Cave skip, yes, 45 to a minute. If you were to manage to die during the Bowser fight, you'd be having to do the entire thing all over again. And anywhere in the escape, you have to go back to the beginning of the escape. And we have seen that in the leagues. We have seen that happen before.
Multiple times.
multiple times, in fact, yes. So, while it is kind of unlikely, it is definitely on the table still.
For sure. And TYRN is making his way towards the moon now, as he is fully leaving Bowser's Kingdom now after that cutscene skip. Equan just globing in. We are looking at a little bit less than a minute of a lead here for TYRN. But this is exactly the amount of time that you lose for those major mistakes. The 2D skip death, the death on moon skip, obviously the death or the mistake during the pillar room. Those mistakes lose even more time. But it's really hard otherwise to lose that big amounts of time. Like, there's small time losses in Moon that lose like a second, 2. But other than that, other than those 2 to 3 major ones, this is a pretty lenient Kingdom.
Certainly. TYRN with that nice vector across the gap, across the chasm with his rocket flower, and be setting up for the Moon Cave skip here.
Going for a fast version here on the right. Is gonna take a bonk though, kind of unnecessary to go for that one. I think unless this is something it looks like he just tried it out. It's gonna go back to the old one. Going for a little bit of a more optimal Moon Cave skip strategy there, but was taking a bonk. You kind of abuse the weird collision of that upper section of the wall to dive into that wall and then be granted a sidewhip or a single jump, but did get a bonk instead.
Unfortunately so, and will have to set it up again, but that's not a big deal. He's still holding on to a very commanding lead, somewhere in the ballpark of 30 seconds. And now it's Equan's turn. See if he goes for the same thing.
Looks like he's opting for it, may be able to show us how this looks optimally. Is going to be able to dive back, goes for the cap return jump. Oh! Jesus! That second dive especially, like, first of all, he cancelled his momentum there with a cap, with like a cap stall, but then he dove in a questionable angle, but made it work.
And making his way in. So these guys are they're in the Bowser fight together. They're only about a phase apart from each other. So if TYRN stumbles upon some bad luck, then it really will just turn around and Equan can take this victory for himself. Of course, now that I've said that, Equan actually missing that first hit, not getting the hat in an optimal way. I'm gonna have to chase Bowser down for this first phase, losing about 7 seconds.
Yeah, I was about to say, maybe if TYRN loses a third cycle Bowser head grab, Equan might be able to come back just off of a better pillar room, but that chance probably just diminished. Now it's pretty much all up to TYRN, either closing out the race optimally or making a major mistake to allow Equan to come back. Other than that, it should be pretty much sealed, but we'll see. Once again, it's never sealed with this one.
It's not over until they shoot out of the wire at the end.
And that's where TYRN is headed now, as he's going to be capturing Bowser, finally setting another flag, checkpoint flag. Why is it so hard to say? As he will at least be set back to this point, which he is definitely going to try to desperately avoid. You do not want to get set back to this point. The only way you do is either failing in the 2D section or in the pillar room. I mean, I guess you can fall down here, but like realistically.
Yeah, you don't really see that nowadays, or very often at all. But the 2D skip, you know, that even took some races in the last league. So you just never know. You never know. TYRN is going to be the first to approach. Equan actually stumbling upon some difficulty here. Just going to be hoping that he doesn't get hit again.
Once again, we pointed out these points. TYRN nailing the 2D skip on the left side. Now, even though there is this technical chance for Equan to win, he needs to be careful, is able to finish out that Bowser fight, but a death here would have lost him a drastic amount of points. So it's at least important that he gets this one. Now it's all up to him finishing the race to get as much points as he can, or hope for TYRN to really mess up in pillar room.
Yeah, we could see some sort of Invis-Wall like we did last season. We could see him just kind of jump off the edge. We've seen that happen as well in some qualifying races even this season. So anything is still possible, but TYRN's fireballs look good on that first pillar. Oh, just missing one. He's going to be going for some backup shots here.
Okay, the most important part here obviously is that you do not get baited by any of these 40 clocks. A sneaky little notification sliding into the stream here. Lightroom with the subscription. Shoutouts to you. And Equan dying to D-skip, losing around 1 minute and around 10 points.
No.
Dude, that's so frustrating though. I played that down Dan. And that's a reoccurring thing. We've seen him actually lose a race here before. Very unfortunate. He is not happy about this one. He is gonna still try to get as much points as he can, but TYRN is able to finish this with a 1:00 time here. 1:00:37 for him. GG's. Not quite happy, as his face cam suggests with this time. He looks like he thought he could do better, but he did get the first win of the season. GG's to TYRN.
Yeah, with the very first match coming to a close. We're going to see Equan on the right side try and attempt this 2D skip. Hopefully he's able to get it this time around. Very nice, nailing it just fine. So now the way that these points work, very similarly to last season. Okay, Equan.
Please just jump out of there, dude.
There we go. He's up. He's up and he's safe. So very similarly to last season, the points, those last 30 points are distributed between the winner and the loser, and it all depends on how far away their times are. So every 10 seconds that goes by, 1 point ticks over to the winner. And unlike last season, it's not a matter of 3 minutes and the winner will always get 31 or 61. It's just, it's all or nothing essentially. So if you lose by 5 minutes, you will not get any points in the race. If you lose by 4 minutes and 50 seconds, you will only get 1 point, and so on.
Absolutely. Now, this is still okay here. Obviously, still actually a overall good showing from Equan, especially throughout the early phases. Once again, they stayed pretty tight up until Lost, really. That's when we really saw the change happening, especially towards Metro. TYRN extending his lead, clicking into the Odyssey now for the show-off here. But Equan is able to finish off the run himself. Looks like a 1:02 around 27, so not quite 2 minutes, but still very good time. I think that was a 27, not ending his timer in time. Does it now as he realizes, but I think that was a 1:02:27, and good stuff.
Yeah, so about a minute and 50-second difference from these guys. So a very solid showing from both of these runners at the beginning of this league. You know, TYRN probably, like you said, he's probably one of the scariest runners in this league. Probably maybe not the happiest with his particular run, but still coming out with the win at the end of the day.
Exactly. Now, it looks like we may have these guys joining in for some post-race thoughts. We have the winner joining first, so I'm going to serve him first. TYRN, GG's on the first win of Season 2. 1:37. You looked maybe not completely pleased, but still good stuff. Yeah. But let us know, how did that feel, the first Season 2 match, and also the first regular season match for you in general?
Okay, so the run wasn't that bad. Like, as always, I have these freaking mistakes that lose around 20 seconds each in my races, apparently. So Lost was pretty weird. I don't know what happened. I didn't get my hats return jump. So that lost up like 15, I think. A reverse for Beetle, so that was weird.
True.
Okay, so I was sub-hour pace. I think I was 49-ish, 59, 49, something like that. Yeah, I don't know. I shouldn't have done what I did, I guess. I tried top required and I failed. Then FMS, which is fast move skip, was terrible. And yeah, not the worst, I guess. Not the worst.
Not the worst at all. We definitely saw some of the harder strategies with some good consistency. Maybe losing the sub 1 to like moon skip and that top acquired strat. But this is the first match. I'm interested from you, TYRN, to hear, because you are definitely a contender to get some of these times. Before I move over to Equan, how many sub hours do you think we will see in the season? Like how much do you think you and your contenders are capable of getting those times in the runs?
I think we can see at least 15, to be honest. At least.
Okay, I said 12. I definitely think it can be up there as well.
Like, maybe like me, Mitch, Chaos, even Curbs, if he really plays well. You know, someone can pop off like Dangers or Lucidity, who knows.
Equan is coming back to the sub our boys. Anyways, first of all, by the way, Fluffy, huge shoutouts here before I move forward to Equan. 5 gifted subs to the community. We appreciate you here. Thank you very much. But Equan also with a pretty good showing coming out of the shadows again to prove that you're still a gamer, other than doing Chopper first. But yeah, run it back to me.
I don't know. I thought it went well. That's about the time I expected to get. So some parts of the game were not that bad. So I'm pretty happy with the result. I expected to get like a 105 or something. Because I didn't practice for this like at all. I was too busy like trying to figure out how to get the webcam to work.
Well, you got that figured out. But there was a little bit of a mishap there. At some point, you like got set up with Snowdram, then your camera just froze and it like fell to the ground. That was interesting.
Yeah, it's because my phone was on low battery, so it like stopped doing anything. So I had to like move it and then turn it off low battery and then move it back anyway.
Wow, using phone, dude. This guy's committed to the viewer experience. That deserves a pork in chat from me, if you ask me. But yeah, GG's. This is the first regular season match. TYRN vs Equan. TYRN taking the win here, taking some extra points along his way. But obviously, we will. These guys will both play their next match next Monday, every Monday. But yeah, stay tuned. We are going to be going into a quick intermission. All of the league matches are going to be happening. Obviously, not all of the league matches, but all of this week's Mario Odyssey matches are going to be happening right now. Next up, Danstar versus Raya, and Dangerous and I will be back with some commentary coverage. So stay tuned and see you guys on the other side.
Yep.